Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for today's NFL games on Sunday for the divisional round. We have two games once again on Sunday for NFL. We got the Lions and the Bucks playing, and then we have the Bills and the Chiefs playing. Wanted to give you guys two props that I did like from these two games. We're going to talk about a play that I do like from each game. So as always guys, before we do talk through these two plays, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos and if they do help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you are new to Prizepicks and if you don't have an account over on Prizepicks, you can sign up linked down below in the description, or just use that promo code NOAH when you do sign up for Prizepicks, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Also want to shout out Sleeper. We do have a partnership with Sleeper as well. And if you guys have never heard of Sleeper, Sleeper is a DFS pick'em app similar to Prizepicks and similar to a lot of the other pick'em apps you see around the industry. Sleeper is going to give you guys, they're going to match your first deposit up to $500 when you sign up and use promo code NOAH. So if you guys want to check out Sleeper, use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up, get your first deposit matched up to $500. On Sleeper, you are able to win up to 100x your money. Sleeper does offer a lot of the major prop sports like NFL, NBA, MLB, college football, college basketball. You can take props for those sports all over on Sleeper. Again, you can win up to 100x your money. If you guys want to check them out, sign up, use that promo code NOAH, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $500. Now, we got two props to talk about for Sunday's NFL games. I do want to recap the two plays that we gave out for Saturday's NFL games before I talk through today's plays. So for Saturday, both the plays we gave out unfortunately did not hit, but man, if you just look at how the games played out, and if you look at the props individually, they were right there. I mean, we took the over on Isaiah Likely's receiving yards at 37.5, and he finished with 34 yards. He finished 4 yards short of going over. But I did talk about in the video yesterday, talked about also liking Isaiah Likely over 9.5 fantasy score. And if you took his over fantasy score, that actually wound up hitting because Likely did catch a touchdown, which we kind of talked about in the video yesterday. Like, if Likely catches a touchdown, he probably goes over fantasy score. And there's definitely a scenario where, he goes over fantasy score, but he doesn't go over yards. And it just so happens, that's what happened on Saturday. He only had 2 catches for 34 yards, but one of those 2 catches was a touchdown, which was enough to put him over his fantasy score. Didn't go over his receiving yards, though, which is obviously unfortunate. And then we took the over on Jordan Love's fantasy score, and man, I mean, that was a sick one to lose. Jordan Love, I want to say with like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he went over his fantasy score, but then he threw an interception, which put him back under. And then the Packers got the ball back, they got the ball back. Jordan Love threw he had 15 passing yards, which put him back over his fantasy score. And then right before the game ended, he threw another interception, which put him back under. So Love, he went over his fantasy score, then threw an interception, went under. Then he went back over again, and then he threw another interception and went back under. So that was a tough way to lose that one. It didn't even matter because Likely didn't go over his receiving yards. But man, they couldn't let us have that one at least. I mean, my God, man. But we got 2 more props to talk about, guys, for Sunday's NFL games. Again, I do have a play that I like from each game. So let's go ahead and talk through them. We'll first start off with the Lions and Bucks game, and we're going to be looking at a prop for Jameson Williams. Now, there's a couple of props I like here. It's kind of similar to the Isaiah Likely situation. 35.5 receiving yards, 7 fantasy score. I like the over on both of these for Jameson Williams. It's kind of like, pick your favorite here. I think if Jameson Williams goes over 35.5 receiving yards, it's pretty likely he goes over fantasy score as well, unless he just has 2 catches for 40 yards or something, which is possible because, Jameson Williams is a player that does have really big play upside. He can catch, he could literally go over this receiving yards prop in 1 catch because he has, that big play upside. But with fantasy score, you do have just more outs with fantasy score. Like, let's say Jameson Williams only has 1 catch, but that 1 catch is a, 5-yard touchdown or something. Well, that would be enough to put him over. So I kind of like fantasy score more for Jameson Williams, but I don't mind taking the over on 35.5 receiving yards as well. But for the sake of this video, we're going to hit on the fantasy score prop. And if you look at Jameson Williams over his last 4 games, he's gone over this fantasy score line in 3 out of 4. Also has gone over receiving yards in 3 out of 4. The playing time for Jameson Williams has really started to trend up. Like, if you look at his snap counts lately, just over their last few games, 68%, 58%, 64%, 70% of the snaps. He has basically been operating as the wide receiver 3 for the Lions behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and behind Josh Reynolds. Without Khalif Raymond, who was out last week, the Lions, they didn't really play any other receivers. Anton Green only played 3 snaps. Donovan Peoples-Jones only played 2 snaps. So you're pretty much going to see the Lions run a 3-man rotation at wide receiver with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Jameson Williams being the 3 guys getting pretty much all the snaps. And Jameson Williams is a very talented receiver with a lot of big play upside. When he was at Alabama, he was a player that just, you get the ball in his hands and he can make big plays happen. And the Lions, they kind of use they use him in multiple ways. I know they'll do like some end around sweeps with Jameson Williams, and sometimes if he does get yards off those, like if they do an end around sweep and he gets yards for that, obviously that doesn't count as receiving yards, assuming it was like it was a backwards pass, it wasn't like a forward pass. And for fantasy score, you would get points for that, whereas like for receiving yards, you wouldn't get points for that. I want to say that Jameson Williams has had at least 1 carry in 3 out of his last 6 games. So like they kind of draw up plays specifically for him to get touches. He's just a super talented receiver with big play upside with a growing role. And the matchup's really good here against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers this season have been a pretty poor pass defense. They have given up the 4th most receiving yards to opposing wide receivers. They've given up, I think they're top 10 in terms of receptions allowed to wide receivers. They've given up 14 receiving touchdowns, which has been about middle of the pack. But the matchup here is great for Jameson Williams. This game is going to be played indoors. Detroit's playing at home here in the dome, so there's no weather concerns in this game. I think this game has a lot of shootout potential. And if you look at Jameson Williams' props this week, I mean, he's projected for 35.5 receiving yards. Right now, Prizepicks does not have a receptions prop up for Jameson Williams, but if you look at the sports books, all the sports books are pretty heavily favoring the over on 2.5 receptions for Jameson Williams, so he's pretty heavily favored to get 3 catches. If he gets 3 catches for 35 to 40 yards, I mean, that's probably going to be enough to put him over this fantasy score line. Obviously, there's a chance he could get more than 3 catches. There's a chance he could have more than 35 yards. There's a chance he could always catch a touchdown. I don't think he's had a touchdown yet this season. He has actually had 2 touchdowns this season. So, touchdowns are always a possibility here. But I like the matchup a lot for Jameson Williams. I like that the role has been growing lately. I think this fantasy score line of 7 is definitely a little bit too low for him. And if we do look at Sleeper, we talked about Sleeper earlier. Sleeper does offer fantasy score projections just like Prizepicks does. Sleeper, they currently have their line on Jameson Williams set at 9.1. So they have their line on Williams 2 points higher, 2.1 points higher actually, than what Prizepicks does. So I like taking the over on 7 fantasy score for Jameson Williams. You can get that on Prizepicks. I also like over 35.5 receiving yards if you want to play that as well. I think both of these are good. I think there's a pretty good chance Williams goes over both these lines. But for the sake of this video, I'm specifically going to be taking Jameson Williams more than 7 fantasy score. And then the other prop that I like, going to the Bills and Chiefs game, we're going to take a look at Stephon Diggs receiving yards prop, 64.5. And we're actually going to be looking at the under here for Stephon Diggs. So if you look at Stephon Diggs lately, he's had kind of a rough season. Definitely has not been playing that well lately. He has gone under this receiving yards prop in 6 out of his last 8 games. Actually 7 out of his last 9 games. So it has definitely been a struggle for Stephon Diggs lately, and this matchup against the Chiefs is really tough. The Chiefs have been really good defensively this season. They have a really good pass defense. They have some really good corners. L'Jarius Sneed, he has been one of the best corners in the league this season, and he's likely going to be shadowing Stephon Diggs in this matchup. L'Jarius Sneed did a decent job slowing down Tyreek Hill last week. I know Tyreek Hill had that one big play, but other than that, Tyreek Hill wasn't super impactful last week. Obviously, the weather played a big role in that, but still, L'Jarius Sneed's been a really good corner this year. He's probably going to shadow Stephon Diggs in this matchup. Even if he doesn't shadow him, there's probably going to be plenty of plays where they're lined up against each other. And Diggs, he gets the volume. He's a super talented receiver, but the opportunity, it's going to be there for Stephon Diggs. But I think when you look at this line of 64.5, you look at where a lot of the other sports books are pricing this line. A lot of the other sports books are pricing this line lower than what Prizepicks does. So right now, DK Sportsbook, they have their line on Stephon Diggs set at 62.5. Pinnacle has their line on Stephon Diggs set at 62.5. and both of those sites are favoring the under. So right now on Pinnacle, under 62.5 receiving yards for Stephon Diggs is minus 121. And then on DraftKings, minus 130, favoring the under on 62.5. So sportsbooks are heavily, I won't say heavily, but sportsbooks are favoring the under on 62.5 receiving yards for Diggs. On Prizepicks, we can get the line at 64.5, where it's even higher. So I like taking the under here on 64.5 receiving yards for Stephon Diggs. The matchup's really tough here. The weather in this game is not going to be great either. I'm not one to overreact to weather. Obviously, the sports books, they're going to price in weather when they make these lines. So, like, the people who, get all crazy about weather, oh, it's going to be raining, oh, it's going to be windy. Like, the sports books obviously know this, and they're already factoring this in to the lines. But if you do look at the weather in this game, it's going to be really cold, which is pretty normal in Kansas City at this, or not, excuse me, not in Kansas City, in Buffalo. In Buffalo at this time of the year, I mean, it's going to be fucking cold as shit. But there's going to be a little bit of wind, around 20 miles per hour. It's going to be about 10 miles per hour sustained winds with gusts up to 20. Maybe the passing game isn't as effective with the weather here, with the cold weather, with the wind. Either way, I think it's a tough matchup here for Stephon Diggs. A lot of the sports books are favoring the under on his receiving yards line, which is lower than what Prizepicks has. And we can get his line at 64.5 on Prizepicks, which I'm pretty sure is like the highest I've seen it. Like, I don't think any other site, any other sports book has their line on Diggs this high. They all have it like 2 or 3 yards lower and favoring the under at that. So I like taking less than 64.5 receiving yards here for Stephon Diggs. It's obviously doesn't feel good to take an under on a talented player like Diggs, but the data backs it up. The sports books, again, they're favoring the under on his line at 62.5, where we can get it at Prizepicks at 64.5. I'll definitely take the under there. So these are 2 props, guys, that I do like for Sunday's NFL games. Jameson Williams, more than 7 fantasy score, and Stephon Diggs, less than 64.5 receiving yards. If you guys are going to tell me on these 2 plays, let's hopefully cash out, make some money on this Sunday slate. Appreciate you guys watching the video, though. As always, if you guys did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you guys have not yet. And if you are new to Prizepicks, again, make sure to sign up for Prizepicks. Use that promo code NOAH when you do, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. But that's all that I got for tonight, guys. Good luck on this Sunday slate. Hope you guys all enjoy your Sunday. Let's make some money today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.